and then you now have one overarching experience that you can
Yeah.
use to.
So if I come to you that I need guidance, not to do it for me because nobody can do this thing for you. You have to do it yourself. But then you need somebody to guide you. If I come to you to guide me to get a Mastercard scholarship to study abroad, what will you tell me?
First, the essays that Mastercard asks you to write. I beg. Now we have an easy way of writing things that nobody tends to. You just put it in ChatGPT and then it gives you. As one of my lecturers would say, ChatGPT generated texts are just banal, like empty. There's nothing there. So when I review people essays, I'm always concerned.
Yeah.
You see, even we know our grammar isn't good. So craft the story. Make sure that you write it yourself. Maybe you can ask ChatGPT to correct the grammatical errors
Yeah.
for you, but make sure that it's your own story. That's one thing
Exactly.
I would say because I kind of think that the essays that I write also kept me there. I wrote also kept me in that position because they were personal and they kind of don't be specific. Don't say in my high school I couldn't pay my fees and in the university it was difficult. Some people just make those kind of statements. Everybody is going to, or somebody in the worst case scenario, somebody will just say, in my high school I faced financial difficulties. That's all. And he's done. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, everybody's
But
going to
you,
write his face
yeah,
financial difficulties and what's going.
yeah,
So what I'm saying is that make just assume that if you are the one reviewing the essays, which essay will you pick? So
yeah,
first, make it personal. Like if I'm reading, let me feel the connection. Be specific. Sometimes my guidance is always that if it's possible, I know the space is not always enough. But if you are going to tell them about one story, make sure you add some few figures. Probably you may even add some dates to just let them know that that thing still sticks in your head. That way they kind of feel that, oh, what this guy is saying is like is really with him wherever he goes. So I usually tell make it personal, be specific about whatever you are saying, you are
yeah,
talking about. So these two things with regards to the AC is that's it. And then go through your AC, read, and proofread it. Don't and the other thing I would say is that if you are going to apply, get somebody who is already there,
yeah,
guide you through. That is the best thing I'm going because the person is going to whatever I'm telling you is how I did it. Maybe somebody next door didn't do the same thing, but he got it. So if you get that person, he will tell you a story how he got it, and then you build on his experience
yeah.
to also write whatever or fill your application form. So I always tell people that if you can even get as many as three people, consult all of them aggregate their experience, and then you will now have one overarching experience that you can
Yeah.
use to do your aces.
Yeah.
So don't
That's
just
nice.
go empty headed and start filling it. LinkedIn, they've all kept it on their profile because you are proud to be a scholar. So
Yeah,
that you go to LinkedIn, get all of them and help them because all these people they all know their circumstance. So when you email them, they are going to respond. And if you
that's
give
true.
them essays, they are going to review them for you. All of them. So the
That's
first thing I would
nice.
say is
Yeah.
that get somebody and then make your essays specific. Yeah.
The offer from Mastercard is very juicy, right? It's very obvious that
Yeah.
it's juicy. Do you think anyone can get it? Especially if, like, okay, for example, if I have a GPA of 2.7 out of 4.0, will I be able to get it? Or like, what advice will you give me? Because yeah, I mean that's really difficult, right?
Yeah, I think the Mastercard criteria. I can talk of SciencePo
Yeah.
where I am specifically, but in all other cases too, it's similar. One thing about SciencePo is that in France we have what we call Grand École.
Okay.
These schools are the top schools. They are not top. They are the elite schools. For example,
Mm.
SciencePo has produced about 16 of past the, French prime ministers and
Oh,
presidents. Exactly. So in France, when you hear a grande école, it means that the school is for the elites. It's just of late that
Ivy League, like Ivy League, right?
exactly,
Wow.
exactly. It's just of late that they are trying to break that kind of thing. That It's for only rich kids. It's for so now they are trying to break it. It's not the thing is that so it tells you that if it's even difficult for locals to get into, you as an outsider, you can
Yeah.
imagine
Man.
you need so the Mastercard decides that though your community things and other things matter, but your grade must also distinct you. Because, for example, if you come to when I'm in class with people and you see the kind of people you are with, you realize that if you are not determined, you can't succeed. So for grades are also important because I think that because when I compare my profile with some of my other colleagues, I tend to believe that the only thing that distinct me from some of my few friends that I've known is just because of the grade. Is because of the grade. So I think that the grade plays an important part, and you have to, if you have intentions. That's why I tell people who wants to study abroad that you can start the journey anytime, but you'll be fortunate if you start it in your first years at the university where you can make a lot of changes. So I wish this your video, those in
Yeah.
level 100, level 200, they get to watch it.
Yeah.
Must start there and build your credentials. You know that if I'm going to graduate school, there's nothing better than higher CW or GPA. You have to make it as high as possible so that the doors will always be open for you. I think the grade plays it plays an important role. Yeah,
Yeah. That's true.
yeah.
When should I start?
Hmm. As where should you start? I don't.
Like when, like, so let's say I graduate from the university in May,
Hmm.
and I want to apply for the Mastercard scholarship, like to, let's say, come to Science Pro. When
Yeah.
should I start the process?
Okay, I think the SciencePo application cycle is always like this. They usually open the application in October, I think. Yeah, they usually open in October. And then for the school application, the deadline is always ahead, maybe somewhere January. But for the scholarship application, if you want to be considered for the scholarship, you have to submit the scholarship. The date varies, but it's usually between 1st and 5th December. Our time it was 5th December, but just this year was 1st December.
Okay.
So if you want to apply, the time is not enough. You have October, November. That's just the 2 months that you have. You have to apply. So get prepared within those two periods and then submit your application. That's the period you have to hunt for it.
But I need to start the application materials before that time, right? Before the October, right?
Yeah, you have to know your unique experience. For example, some people are there getting the documents wouldn't take time. So with that, you don't need to. I don't see why you have to start. But basic preparation, someone who is prepared is always ahead. So if you get all of them together, like your transcript, you don't want the time you want to get the transcript. They will tell you that University Workers Union are on strike, and you
Yeah.
can't get yours. So make sure your transcript is ready. Make sure your English proficiency, you get it down. Make sure you've spoken to whoever will be providing you with the recommendation letter should be ready. You get these things in place. Now, when the thing comes, your job is to write the essays and then alert the people who will be submitting the documents to do their work. So I think there's preparation involved because the period is just a month and a half or two, which is very limited for you to do a lot, but enough if you are prepared. So I will, just like you said, I will encourage that you prepare ahead of time and that will pitch you ahead of everybody else. Yeah.
Okay. The essays that you mentioned, do they change the questions every year or the same questions?
Per my experience so far, the essays that I wrote and this year's essays, they are the same. The
Mm,
same essays. But I don't know whether subsequently they will modify it. But
mm,
this our year and this year is
the
the
same
same
thing.
essay.
Mm,
Yeah, the same questions.
mm. If I want to study in France, whether on Mastercard scholarship or not, what are some universities that you recommend to me?
Okay. I think France studying in France, for example, they maybe you can come through the Erasmus and come through the Mastercard, but there are other things. For example, some schools like if you are somebody who wants to do economics, I think You can look at the Paris School of Economics, which is the best department in the country. You can look at the Toulouse School of Economics, which is also one of the best. And then maybe SciencePo comes third. But there are other schools which I think I met someone who didn't come here as a scholar, and she was telling me her experience. I was really surprised. She told me that the fees she had to pay was just 200 euros. That's her fee. And then the rest was she has to pay for her accommodation and her feeding. But her master's was just a year. So I don't know for the school, but the school is in the south of France. So that is to tell you that there are schools which fees are not that expensive. Even if you are not on scholarship, you can afford to come and study and probably transition into work here.
Mhm.
But for scholarships, that's what I can tell. For the scholarship, I know of only Mastercard. I know of, okay, even SciencePo itself runs on scholarships. I know of a Sudanese lady who is benefiting from one of them now. But those scholarships are very, very competitive because it's like, so far she's the only black lady I've met that said she's benefiting from that scholarship.
Mm.
Yeah.